Hi, so I'm Gemma. Um, so just to give you a bit of a backstory really on who I am, how this has happened, what it's all about. Um, I guess I've always thought kind of differently to how I was told I should think and what I should be doing in life. And um, I think there's lots of moments in my life that stand out, but there was a few particularly at uni in my sort of more recent memories that really stick out as being real sort of defining moments. So I studied international relations, and we were in a history module in first year, and the lecturer was talking about how when we move from an agrarian society to an industrialised one, and while I'm not trying to romanticise, what it would have been like in an agrarian society, because I know it wasn't all roses, but at the time it just made no sense in my mind why anyone would choose to move from literally reaping what they sow and having their sense of freedom really and being connected to nature, I guess, to moving into these factories and suffering the most horrific conditions and selling yourself, basically selling your time. It just didn't add up. It didn't make sense in my head. And it was then later on we were studying international development and trade and things like that, and looking at when people set up the plantations and they couldn't get other cultures to work for them. They didn't want to work, and the owners wouldn't understand why. And the answer was, well, my wife makes my clothes, we grow our own food, what do I need to work for? I've got everything that I could possibly need. We thought that was lazy. And I remember thinking, well, no, that makes perfect sense. Why would you? And so we got them hooked on tobacco and drugs in order that we'd have something to pay, they'd have something that they needed to buy. So all this is sort of adding up, and then by the time I get to the end of university, and all the corporates come in offering us these grad schemes, I remember wishing that my brain was that way inclined that I would be able to do one. I wanted to do one. I wanted to fit in. And I felt like I was missing something that something didn't feel right. So I went away, I went skiing for 6 months, and in that time decided the only option was to launch a business. So I did that when I came home, and it evolved into another one, and that was about 3.5 years ago. It's been fairly successful, but then a lot of other things are unfolding alongside that, and I guess really the shift happened last January, and I went to have some business coaching with Tom, my boyfriend, who's also on here, his father, and the chap who was running the day, a lovely guy called Martin, showed us a video, and he only showed us the video to demonstrate the difference between the left and the right side of the brain, and I saw something more in it, bearing in mind I'm in a room of 8 very corporate men, and they're already feeling fairly uncomfortable at this point because we're talking a lot about feelings. And it was a lady called Jill Bolt-Taylor. It's a TED Talk. I really, really recommend it. She's a neuroscientist, and she realised one day that she was having a stroke. And because she was a neuroscientist, she could kind of witness what was happening. And she talks about slipping between these two states. On the one hand, feeling very rational, aware that there's a problem, she needs to get help. She feels very separate. She can see that this is her hand, that's the table, separate in that way. And then she'd slip into this other space as her brain was sort of starting to close down, or her intellectual brain, of feeling very blissful, at one, peaceful, love. And she physically couldn't see where her hand started and the table started. It was all just energy, everything was just one. And eventually her lights went out and she slipped completely into this state of bliss. And 8 years later, she recovered and can now access that space at will. And when she's in that space, she feels incredibly peaceful, has access to unlimited creativity, feels she can do anything. And I put my hand up and I said, wow, this is amazing. If this is true, wow. And Martin looked at me and he asked me if I'd heard about a sort of new way of thinking that he was involved in. And I said no. And so he invited me to go to a conference with him in May. And so this was May last year, and I went, and it was like going home. For the first time, I felt like I wasn't weird anymore. I wasn't the odd one out, that this was actually a thing. And in the last few years, I'd sort of noticed that when I stressed out and tried to control things and worried, everything would block up. It would be difficult. Things would be difficult. I wasn't happy. But then as soon as I would just let go, not worry, just roll with it, I would see signs everywhere and stuff would just fall into place. And I thought that, I don't know what I thought, that was just it. But coming here and I realised, wow, okay, this is how the universe works, this is real. And it was a whole series of people, from multi-millionaire business owners to ex-prisoners, ex-heroin addicts, psychiatrists, whole mix of people who were talking about an inside-out approach. And what that really is going back to what enlightened people have been saying since the beginning of time, which is that we have all our answers. I don't have yours, I have mine, but it's not about changing or improving what is, it's just about understanding the actual nature of what is. Seeing the bigger picture instead of being so focused on the stories that we've created based on our own fairly limited belief systems and perspectives. So this was just an amazing, wow, eye-opener day, and I had to pull the car over and burst into tears afterwards. I just felt so grateful to be, I felt I was in on some sort of secret actually. And anyway, I met there a wonderful lady called Kim who invited me onto her workshop in October last year, and to say that was a game changer is an enormous understatement. It completely transformed my life because I had my own insights. I became aware of things I hadn't been aware of before. And the result of that was my relationships got better, immensely so. My business got better. I felt happier. I felt freer. It was just, everything was amazing. You think life can't get better, and then it does. And yeah, I think to anyone who's thinking my life is absolutely great as it is, wonderful, but how do you know it couldn't be better? And so in November, I had an idea, because I felt this needs sharing. This is so massive, but sharing in a way that is accessible and kind of easy to digest. And it just evolved, and suddenly this amazing group of people have come together to help make it happen, and I haven't really done very much. It's just evolved really naturally and effortlessly. So, yeah, I guess the idea is just to help us get back to our more of a natural state of being, to understanding what is, to seeing the bigger picture, and connecting, just really connecting instead of being afraid of our own shadows. So, yeah, I guess that's kind of it really for now. And we'll see what happens over the next couple of months. And hope to see you at one of our events soon. Thanks, bye.